Hello, everyone, I'm ZHAO Chuang. Today, we're going to draw the tail of Mosasaurus. The tail of Mosasaurus only had a major discovery in recent 10 years that changed our perception. Previously, when we reconstructed the Mosasaurus tail, we generally made it a simple circle like that of eels. But now we have a new understanding, just as this model shows. Its tail looked more like that of sharks. It was a structure composed of two fins. Why can we deduce that it had this structure? First, of course, it had direct impressions of the skin. But, even if without the skin impressions, its inside skeleton also showed this feature. However, many scholars in the past did not conduct the in-depth discussion on it, in the absence of sufficient evidence. Next, let's draw the tail of Mosasaurus and learn about its anatomical structure at the same time. First, let's draw one bone of its tail, and check out its composition. Similar to many reptiles or animals, the body of its caudal vertebra was the centrum, which had the neural spine on its top. The transverse process had degenerated, which was here, and very subtle. We only draw a section of its tail end. The lower part were its chevrons. This was one bone of its caudal vertebrae. They arranged one by one and formed its whole tail. The tail of Mosasaurus and other mosasaurs had an important feature, that was their tail curved downward at a certain point. Different species showed different degree of bending. I'll not draw the following bones one by one. They formed a curve like this, so were the chevrons. As moving towards to the tail end, these chevrons became smaller and smaller. Then about its neural spines. Before people found Mosasaurus had a downward curving tail bend similar to that of ichthyosaurs, people had noticed the neural spines in the front half of its tail were all facing backward. But the ones on the end, on the contrary, pointed forward. This might indicate where the orientation changed was the main point of its tail bend. Many mosasaurs shared the similar feature. In the early period, this structure did not have a good explanation. Of course, we now know that the Mosasaurus tail was different from the previous speculation, in having a simple eel-like shape. According to many skin impressions, we now find Mosasaurus tail was actually more like that of sharks. On its tail surface, there was a relatively large soft tissue. The end of its tail was pointed. Above its tail bend, there was a fin like this. Together, they formed a crescent-shaped tail. Good. Next, let's draw a reconstruction look of Mosasaurus tail. First, we need to pay attention to its tail muscles. The distribution of the muscles followed some certain rules. We know the transverse processes were at this position, so the boundary between its upper muscles and lower muscles was also here. We start to draw from this boundary line. The upper muscles on its tail looked narrower, and the lower ones were more developed and thicker. The whole shape was still in a somewhat round look. Under the strong sunlight or strenuous exercise, the muscles here would contract intensely. So you may see here some traces similar to ligature marks. Then the upper part of its caudal fin. The two sets of muscles became narrower and narrower going towards the end. Then this was the lower part of the caudal fin. We can add more details, such as scratches or notches. Good, we've finished drawing the Mosasaurus tail.